Hello there and welcome to the Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley. And what is my name? I think I forgot my name because we were off for such a long time. My name is Draxter Dupre, and with me is Joe Yardley. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
How are you? It's been a very long time.
Has it? Because it feels like it's been days ago.
All right, so we've been off over the summer, but we're back, and we apologize for any inconvenience. It's been a fabulous summer with lots of stuff going on in Second Life, in VR, in our personal lives, and all intertwined. But now we're back on a weekly basis. And we, as you may have noticed, dear listener, we have switched to releasing this program on a Saturday for many, many logistical reasons.
The main reason that Drax is just generally just drunk on Fridays.
Today on the show, a recap of what happened in VR and SL in the last few months. We were off the air, and I know a few listeners will say that I mentioned VR before SL indicates that we have abandoned SL and we don't care anymore. Joe, is that true?
What's SL?
You actually, and we're going to get into this later, you purchased a new sim. You have a new project, which is really interesting. Second Life is not dead yet.
No.
But it smells a little weird.
That's just you, Drax.
Oh. All right. Our guest today, Roblim VR, a big-time influencer in VR. See, there I go again. I mentioned VR before as well. He's the number 5 influencer in VR, according to Analytica. He's also a longtime SLer, proprietor of hardware. They make mesh items. And his partner makes, under the brand Snatch, female clothing. I also want to say we're also going to be talking about the Palmer Luckey situation. I mean, hence the name of the show. This is, by the way, show number 123, The 3 Stigmata of Palmer Luckey. I couldn't help it because I was just reading the book by Philip K. Dick, The 3 Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. I'm not kidding you. And then I wake up in the morning and I look at the Twitter trends, and there's Palmer Luckey in the Twitter trends, and I thought to myself, what happened? And there it is. And if you don't know what we're talking about, we're going to talk about it in the body of the show
in a minute.
Right, for the rest of the hour. No, right after the housekeeping notes, we delve right in. Musical guest today, J9 Scarborough, with her new CD, 1,000 Rooms. J9,
isn't it Janine?
No, it's J9.
Oh, right.
It's deliberately spelled J9. We have to have her on at some point to explain how that name came about. She's been in Second Life over a decade too. An awesome album, a long time coming, but finally she released it. We're going to hear a couple songs. Now, we haven't acknowledged our wonderful sponsors in a while because we were off the air. Let me just say the sponsors of this show, they make the show happen. The corporate sponsors and the individual subscribers. Now, we have sponsors like Time Portal. Wait a minute, what is that? Time Portal is a sponsor? I don't know. Who is that? Who wrote this into...
Me.
Wait a minute. I have this copy that I'm reading here from this copy, and the copy just changed 2 minutes before we go in the air. No, Time Portal is an awesome sponsor. Check it out.
The best.
SL Artists, Warbug, 01 Heavy Industries, Extraordinary Fine Magical Goods, Ionic, Maven Homes, Giza Creations, Botanical, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Arrows Avatars, The Cube Republic, What Next, Dutchy Furniture, Landscapes Unlimited, Bay Cities You Know for Kids, Fallen Gods Incorporated, Ferocious L, and Death Row Designs. You can become a sponsor. Let us know if you want to become a sponsor, and we will let you know how that works.
I just realized that our sponsors, there's a list there with some of the very, very best in Second Life.
Yeah, and you know...
I mean, I'm not just saying that,
That's
but
true.
I know there's names. I'm not a shopper. I hate shopping. I never buy stuff. But there are names of people that even I know. And that means something.
That is true. We have really the best. And, you know, there's this blog. There's a Second Life blog. They also have Second Life sponsors. Are like a real journalistic outfit. I think it's called New World something. And his sponsors.
You dream about him, don't you?
I do.
You're obsessed, darling.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, competition is the slice of life. He must go. I mean, there can only be one. It's like Highlander. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Why don't you strip down to the waist and fight in mud over who gets to stay?
Anyway, so what was I going to say? That's the housekeeping notes. Let's play some J9 Scarborough. Here's a song called Losing You. Fabulous tune, J9 Scarborough from her CD, 1,000 Rooms.
1, 2, 3.
My heart sang much too loud. You heard it and replied. From the other side of town, you called me in that night. I'd like to take it back, the pounding of my heart, 'cause I don't want to feel the sadness as we part. It's hard to understand, I'll take a different way. Because you're my best friend, it's a shame I cannot stay. I'd like to wind it back, it's what I'd love to do. It's hard for me to feel the pain of losing you. Why is it that my feelings changed and suddenly it's rearranged? 'Cause slowly life got cold and I felt trapped. Now I feel old, it's time to realize, time to see it's over, time to make a plan, time for looking forward. Why is it that my feelings changed and suddenly it's rearranged? 'Cause slowly life got cold and I felt trapped. Now I feel old, I'd like to wind it back, it's what I'd love to do. But I need to feel myself and not the pain of losing you. Why is it that my feelings changed and suddenly it's rearranged? 'Cause slowly life got cold and I felt trapped. Now I feel old, I'd like to wind it back, it's what I'd love to do. Well, it's hard for me to feel the pain of losing you. Hard for me to feel the pain of losing you. Losing you.
That was J9 Scarborough with Losing You. This is the show. This is the Drax Files Radio Hour with me, Drax Dupre, and Joe Yardley that you're tuned into. And I would like to welcome our guest, Rob Lem VR. Hey, Rob, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining us, Rob. We only have an hour to recap the coolest crap that came out in the VR world this summer when we were off the air. And you actually have a really cool, new, very short, very to the point, well-produced, how do you call it? Do you call it YouTube vignettes? You recap the week in VR
Yep.
in a very, very succinct, wonderful format.
Hey everyone, I'm Robin VR, and welcome to another episode of VR Review, my weekly virtual news wrap-up. This program is made possible by generous contributions by viewers like you. Thank you.
Yeah, once a week, I do the VR news. I try to keep it to about 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Try to cap on like the top 4 or 3 to 5 stories during the week. I don't appear on screen, so it's not about me. It's just about the actual news, and I try to, bring in as much visuals as I can to try to get people snapped up as to what's been going on without all the extra hype and baloney that goes on in the media.
And people can sponsor you as well through Patreon.
Yep, I have a Patreon account and every other option under the sun. If you want to kick me a couple of dimes or whatever, it's great.
Okay, Drax Files listeners, listen, don't sponsor us, sponsor Rob. So we can get him on this show. So Rob,
Hey,
and sponsor Time Portal, of course. I mean, you know, our listeners they have very deep pockets. But Rob, so you do this every weekend, and there's so much stuff going on in VR announcements, and there's so much hype, and we're going to talk about SL too. What would you rank as the most significant?
Yeah, well, Google Daydream just came out. They started talking about it back in May. And it's basically, if any of the listeners are familiar with Google Cardboard, it's basically a piece of cardboard, or there's other knockoffs that have made of plastic or other materials, where you put your smartphone in, and it gives you a split screen, so you can move your head around and have a real basic but solid virtual reality experience. Daydream is meant to be sort of an enhanced version of that, a lot closer to something like an Oculus Rift or HTC Vive, where the hardware has better tracking, and they also have a motion controller that's paired with the unit, so that you'll be able to do gestures and stuff within virtual reality, which puts it up over the simple kind of controls that you get with cardboard.
Right, so we're talking about a headset, and Joe, I think you tweeted something like it's so cute because it's felt, or the fabric is very nice.
It looks a bit like it's wearing underpants.
It's $80, and we're talking about the headset, but you just started talking about it, Rob. They also, Google is now basically making Daydream-ready phones that run the platform and are ready, and they have a controller, the controller you can store in the HMD.
Daydream is a platform that other companies are going to be making phones for too. Google has initially rolled out the Pixel phone, which is they're diving into the space. They're obviously trying to go up against Apple, trying to leverage Android in a higher level. The Pixel phone has got a superior camera to Apple's new phone, and they kept the headphone jack, which everybody lost their mind over, that disappeared when Apple decided to drop the headphone jack. And it's a good phone in general, but the Daydream platform is being adopted by Samsung, HTC, LG, Xiaomi, Huawei, ZTE, Atus, and Alcatel. These are all a lot of international phone companies that are going to be building for the Daydream platform. So all of those phones will be Daydream compatible.
Right, and it looks like that that the Daydream, the Pixel phone is kind of the flagship. It's really not that inexpensive.
Oh, it's a premium phone. It's the pricing is online with the latest the i7s.
And I hear 4 of our 5 listeners now already kind of going like, "Oh my God, what happened to Drax? Now he's talking about freaking phones. Who cares?" But I think it's important because this step or this investment by Google into VR is significant, and it may really signal a much higher adoption because, I have a Vive, but it's insanely expensive. When you live in the Silicon Valley bubble, I think you keep hearing this argument, okay, it's going to drop in price in a year and then people will buy it. I'm not so sure, but I do think that with Google and then with very inexpensive phones and with a nice headset, we could see mass adoption actually very, very quickly.
It's going to bring more people to VR. I'm pretty sure of that. If it's cheap and easy and fun to do, lots of people will try it. And the more people who get interested in this sort of thing, the more likely they are that they want to go and check out something else. They want to do something more. But this will not directly have any use for people who want to explore Second Life.
Right.
And Sansa probably. But we don't know yet. We haven't been allowed in.
Second Life, the mobile train after the demise of SL Go, is probably coming back.
Yeah, that was the only chance onlining, what do you call it? Mobile Second Life had.
Mobiling, right.
Yes. I mean, for me, I personally don't really care. I haven't got anything mobile except my bicycle.
All right. And then interestingly enough, and, we're 15 minutes into the show, we didn't even mention that Oculus Connect just concluded as this show is coming out. And Oculus Connect, of course, the third iteration is this sort of big spectacle. And it just concluded in San Jose. And Rob, I want to ask you your take on what was announced. I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff. And next week we'll have Chris Madsen, Deep Rifter, and Gunter S. Thompson from Gunter's Universe on, who were on the ground. But for now, they announced sort of a device that is between sort of the Gear VR and the fully tethered headset, something that has the computing power inside the headset on the back. They announced fully Oculus-ready laptops, but then Mark Zuckerberg came out and he showcased what they define as social VR. It's almost a little bit augmented there. I mean, they were cartoonish figures. They had facial tracking with that cartoonish look, and they were in environments which were, I guess, either 360 panoramic still photos or
The room they were in, that I think that's like one of Zuckerberg's rooms in his house.
Zuckerberg's home. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, that looked like it was a live feed. The dog was moving. I mean, it could possibly be partially staged. I mean, like that whole thing, like when he said he was going to, send his picture up to Facebook. It didn't show up on Facebook.
And people can watch this, of course. We linked to it on the blog, and then they can exactly see what we're talking about. So basically, they teleported between the Facebook headquarters and then his home, and they were playing cards with his two cartoonish-looking colleagues. He was able to look at himself. He was able to take a selfie. He got a call from Facebook Messenger from his wife and then took a selfie together with her. So real life photo from the Messenger inside his real home, superimposed, and him as this cartoon figure. They were joking that he was looking like a young Justin Timberlake. So it was all mixture of VR and AR essentially.
Yeah, I mean, well, there wasn't any live. I mean, the 360 feed. I mean, all of it was, virtual reality, kind of all composted together to look like it was, an augmented reality type thing. I guess you could kind of call it augmented since it did have the live feed from his room. But I mean, like then they would like jump to Mars. So obviously that's not they're not on Mars.
The seamless integration of all these different realities was impressive. But let's put ourselves in Linden Lab's shoes or High Fidelity's shoes. They're watching this and they go like, oh shit, here's the big elephant in the room, doing stuff, and we can basically pack up and go home, or what do you think?
Facebook isn't going to control the whole thing.
Right.
That's what their vision for a virtual space is and how you'd interact with people in it. And that's fine. That's perfectly useful if you want to catch up with a group of people, have a little conversation, have a little fun, maybe play a game of cards, whatever, watch something on TV. That's fine. And then there's also going to be places like possibly Sansar, definitely what High Fidelity's building, the stuff you see in VR Chat, where people build spaces.
VR Chat also got some funding. We got to throw that nugget in real quick.
And I mean, the stuff like AltSpace VR, they have a different take on it too. And I think that's something you're going to find is that all these different, virtual worlds and these virtual spaces are going to have different features. And so if you want to get into building, obviously Facebook World, whatever they end up calling it, that's not really going to be the place for you. But you may still hop in there once in a while to catch up with some people.
I'm realizing, it could basically be your life in the metaverse could sort of mirror your real life. So basically you're in Sansar, High Fidelity, whatever other world, doing sort of serious, really cool stuff like creative stuff, or it's your job. And then at the end of the day, you post like a photo on Face World about what cool stuff you did in Sansar.
You're going to see different roles for the different spaces, and that I don't see them doing anything building. And you have to wonder too whether Facebook's going to make this an Oculus exclusive. You've seen the demo with High Fidelity, where they had somebody in with an Oculus and another person with an HTC Vive and a third person on a regular keyboard mouse situation, and they were all in the same virtual space, and they were all able to interact with different hardware. Is that something that Facebook's going to allow?
Listeners, let us know in the comments, please, what you think about the significance of these Oculus announcements. Again, sort of in the context of the metaverse. Is it a race? Is it beta versus VHS, which I always say, and that might be very simplistic. But let us know. I mean, is this vision of social VR that Zuckerberg demoed?
Yeah, well, I mean, and then one of the other things they announced is that they're putting up a $10 million fund to encourage diversity in VR development. So, I mean, that's a really positive thing. You know, I think that probably kind of, whether that was something they were working on beforehand or whether it's something that fell out of the fact that, you know, they had the problems with Palmer, I don't know, but it's a very positive thing. And I think that's something that they need to be doing going forward anyway, just to really show that everyone's invited.
Rob, do you think, real quick, and then we have to move on, there's so much to get to, but do you think that it will become socially acceptable to have an HMD on your face in the subway? This is something that I think about a lot because it to me, it baffles me that my personal experience, whenever I tell people enthusiastically about Second Life, you know, 90% of people, they look at me like, oh my God, he's like, what is this, like Scientology with some cartoon people, you know, that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, then you probably have that same experience. Then we sort of progress and then we just maybe not talk about it anymore, but we do our thing and we enjoy it. And then all of a sudden it becomes socially acceptable that you stare at your phone with Pokemon and you run into a lamppost. And then
No. That is still not socially acceptable.
Joe, you're not normal. For you, none of this shit is socially acceptable. I understand that. but it's so strange, right? I mean, and
yeah, I mean I mean, right now we're used to seeing people talking on a phone, walking down the street.
Ish.
Except for Joe.
Except for the Luddites of the world, but
yeah.
But so I mean, it'll become more normalized. I mean, obviously, the thing with out in the street with a VR headset on, it's probably something people are still going to be doing more at home in a controlled environment rather than. I mean, I've seen a few people on the subway with these things on, but obviously that leaves you open to attack, I guess.
That's right.
But I think it'll just become more normal to see these things all the time. It's kind of like grade school. People getting picked on for wearing glasses. It's because they're not used to it. And then later on, you get used to that. And, and eventually glasses are sexy. So I think it'll be a very progressive type thing.
When did that happen? I missed that.
No, when I got my first glasses at age 11, it was actually it coincided with a bullying issue in school. And I mean, that's a whole nother subject. And I was bullied and several others. And it's hilarious that today, people who don't need glasses, they buy glasses because it's cool.
I was bullied once.
Yeah?
I punched him. Yeah, we went to hospital, the guy.
Jesus Christ, Joe. We got to do a spin-off of the Drax Files. The Drax Files Radio with Joe Yardley telling stories about people who she punched.
Tell us about her life.
Tell us about your life, matey.
The amount of people she punched into the hospital. Episode 742.
Okay, now just one more item, and then we're just going to link this stuff because we got to move on. One more item. What is important in VR and virtual worlds in SL? Yeah,
I mean, I think what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of different aspects. Different virtual worlds are going in different directions. Like there's a group of I've actually just got off a conference call yesterday with a platform called CoSpaces.
Oh.
And they're actually a lot more like the original Second Life. Like they have small spaces. It's not a giant virtual world. It's much more about individual spaces. But they have a set of primitives that you bring in and you can drag them around and stack them up, and it's being used a lot for education now. But again, this is a different take on the virtual world thing. And so instead of like right now, Second Life has become very complex. 10 years ago it wasn't, but as far as like if you want to do building, you kind of have to get into mesh. You kind of have to, learn all these different tools outside of SL, to be effective. But like this, they're starting out and they're having people build things with primitives, like the original kind of Second Life primitives.
As it should be.
Co-spaces is very interesting because you build it, you just place items, you place people, you can animate them a little bit. And interestingly enough, this is a company in a city that I know very well because I was born there. So it's cool to see a German company being in that space. And I tried it out. I have an account. I didn't have much time, but it's very intuitive. It works on tablets. You build it on a tablet. Then you put your phone into the device or whatever. And there you have your little virtual universe.
So it has a very low entry, cost. So you can just jump right in. You can, and it's great for kids because they can go in, build something, and then they can throw on their, little Google, cardboard headsets, and go and poke around in it, in virtual reality, or they can look at it on the screen, on the flat screen. So it's a nice, low level of entry, and I think that's going to be very important. That's why mobile is so important.
Right.
If you're gonna, most of people are going to have a cell phone of some kind, and you can throw it into a cardboard. You can, get one that's going to be Daydream compatible, or you can live out in isolation with an iPhone, not have any VR.
Co-spaces that we're talking about, I have contacted them, and I hope we'll do a whole show with them very soon. Joe, what is important to you in VR? What transpired this summer? Is there anything interesting, or are you just glued to your time portal?
There's nothing really exciting. I mean, Sansar started letting people in. I mean, were we talking about that?
Yeah, what do we know about Sansar?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I know 2 people who are now inside Sansar.
But they can't talk about it.
No, they can't. They can only tell you that they're in there because apparently that's not part of the NDA.
Oh, really?
But I hope so.
Well, they're good or bad for them, maybe.
Just in case, I won't tell you who they are. Sorry, Ed. But nobody's really talking. We've got a bunch of screenshots, but they were hand delivered by Linden Lab, so that doesn't really, that's not real.
Yeah, we can't even tell if we don't know if they're doctored. I mean, they look always impressive, so you could think, the render engine is amazing, but they could be doctored. I also find it interesting about Sansar and High Fidelity because that's what I see as sort of the 2 big interesting spaces in the virtual world of the future. Again, notwithstanding VR chat, which I think is really cool. It's very sort of grassroots and pretty cool vibe in there. But High Fidelity is out there. Very open, is obviously from the concept is open source, but it's not super stable. But they're very open and aggressively also targeting content creators from Second Life to bring them over. And at the same time, Sansar is very secretive. So it's 2 very extremely different approaches.
Yeah, they're polar opposites, but it's so funny that they are because, they are so connected. They're intertwined, yet so far apart, like brothers.
Like 2 estranged brothers.
It's like Shakespeare.
Yep.
2 so alike, drifted apart.
It's very tragic.
When you talk about Shakespeare, one Shakespeare play by the name of Hamlet comes to mind.
Oh, yes. People are going to die.
Hamlet, James Wagner actually asked people on his blog who signed the NDA, but maybe people are allowed to say that they signed it. I don't know. Are you allowed to say?
I'm sure you're allowed to say you signed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But and I'm sure you're allowed to say you're in Sansar. You're just not allowed to say anything about it.
What the hell do I know? I'm not a lawyer.
Well, we've all signed. Well, we've all dated lawyers, and we've all signed NDAs, so we sort of figured it out.
I'm married to a lawyer, so she could get me out of jail just in case. But Rob, what do you think about the closed approach versus the open approach? Who will win?
Sansar is the big question mark. I mean, those pictures were great, but so what? That doesn't mean anything to me. Until I can actually get in there and kick around. But
I think that
the open approach I feel is better, but we'll see how it pans out.
If Sansar is really good, then so far they've been playing it really well. But it's a risky approach. If Sansar is disappointing,
it's like a poker game, Joe.
everyone's going to be disappointed.
Right.
Because, right now they're just building tension. And if it's really, really good, then that works out. But if it's not so good, people are going to, be disappointed because they're so excited. And with high fidelity, you know what you've got from day one.
Right. You have people falling through the floor.
Yep.
But we dealt with that in the first few years of Second Life too.
People come near me in Second Life today, they're still at risk of falling through the floor because I really enjoy setting Prims to Phantoms. I can't get enough of that.
Oh, that's what you do? Seriously? Like if you have like a griefer, you talk with them a little bit?
Friends, family, strangers, anyone. I just sit there, someone walks up and I go, click, and then, wah! I can do that all
I
day
thought
long.
you at least would do some, hello there, stranger, you don't wear the proper 1920s attire. And then he would say, screw you, lady, who are you? And then you say, well, I'm the lady that can make Prims disappear. Goodbye.
No, I just kick them out.
Let's move on to the next subject. Joe is alluding to it. Palmer Luckey is in a bit of a, what do you call it in Australian?
Bit of a
pickle.
Oh, yeah. He's in a bit of a pickle, mate.
So in case you guys have lived under a prim rock,
Mesh.
or mesh, exactly, to your liking, I'm reading here straight from The Guardian from September 23rd. Oculus Rift founder Palmer Luckey spends fortune backing pro-Trump shit posts. And since we don't...
What? Is that the language they used in an actual newspaper?
This is what they used in The Guardian, Joe. This is not the Daily Mail. This is The Guardian. This is a
The
perspective.
Guardian uses that kind of filthy... Oh, God, where's the world coming to?
Palmer Luckey, the creator of Facebook's Oculus Rift, is the secret backer of a pro-Donald Trump organization aiming to turn the tide of the U.S. election through meme magic and shitposting. So this is a group called Nimble America, and Palmer Luckey is operating on a Reddit of Nimble America under the username Nimble Rich Man. This is so hilarious.
I love the word nimble.
Yeah, and I just want to quote what Palmer Luckey under this pseudonym. Interesting. Facebook is all about real names. He posted there, for example, you and I are the same. We know Hillary Clinton is corrupt, a warmonger, a freedom stripper. Wow,
Ooh,
I didn't know she was a stripper.
That sounds kinky.
And not the good kind. Wait a minute, Joe, I'm not kidding. Rob, listen.
I think I've invited her to a party once, a bachelor party.
This is what he posted, and it's so fun that we're taping the Drax files while they're probably trying to wipe the slate clean and hoping that the stuff goes away. He's posting here on Reddit, not she's a freedom stripper and not the good kind you see dancing in bikinis on Independence Day.
What?
It's for real.
Strippers in bikinis on Independence Day? What? That's a good thing?
Yeah, that's what they do in Southern California. I reached out to the leaders of this community, he posts, because I'm doing everything I can to help America make America great again. I have already donated significant funds to Nimble America. And then here he keeps on saying that he will basically match donations dollar for dollar. Will people be offended? Yes, but those people already hate the Donald. They cannot stand to see successful people who are proud of their success. All right, I'm just going to say one more thing and then I'll let you guys take this over. So there's been Brendan Iribe, the CEO of Oculus, has issued a clarification or apology or a corporate statement. You guys can read this. A African-American developer has posted an open letter to Oculus founder Palmer Luckey. My friend and former colleague with Virtual Guantanamo, Noni de la Peña, who was Palmer Luckey's mentor at USC, has posted a heartfelt post on Facebook where she says that she comes from, her grandparents were undocumented immigrants from Mexico. Obviously, we all know that Trump likes to call them rapists and all sorts of things. So my personal opinion is, when I saw this, that I was not at all surprised, and primarily for the reason because I had interactions with Palmer Luckey on Facebook about politics and economics, and he struck me as a
right-wing bastard.
Yeah, but not that extreme, actually. It was interesting. I thought, I know where he comes from. I know that area. When I lived in Los Angeles, you used to make fun, like, you live behind the Orange Curtain, which is south of LA, is the Orange County, which is tends to be very conservative, very white. And he's a 23-year-old homeschooled son of a Lexus dealer, a father who owns a Lexus dealership. Now, I don't want to discriminate against people just because their parents have a car dealership.
Liar.
All those people.
Okay. In some cases, 2 and 2 is 4. No, but I had interactions with him with differing opinions about police brutality. And basically, it always, on Facebook, went back and forth and back and forth. And very often, Luckey basically said to me, you know what, if people don't comply with the cops and they end up dead, it's their own fault. And I have a huge problem with that. This is not the platform. This podcast is not the platform to go further into that. But I was not surprised that he would go this Trump direction. Now, Luckey Elliott, one of our 5 faithful listeners, also tweeted about this Luckey situation, that he was also not surprised because, and you guys may remember this, that Luckey said at SVVR, Silicon Valley Virtual Reality Conference 2014, that people will love VR because they essentially live in shitty places, and in VR, then they can live in really cool places like we do in California.
For us, sitting here in the best country in the world, and in the best state in this country, it's easy for us to say that it's easy for us to say, virtual reality is not as good as the real world, so why would I want to spend my life in it? But there's a lot of people around the world who don't necessarily have lives that are as good as ours.
No, I mean, he's got a point, except that not everybody loves California. I mean, I spent my time in virtual reality because I want to live in 1920s Berlin. So I'm not going to, because I can sort of understand that.
If you listen to this original quote, it really was more along, I know what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%. I mean, the immersion into worlds, and even if that is deemed escapism.
Yeah, you mean the intention was...
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
His emphasis was wrong.
The emphasis was on how great America is. It's the greatest, and everybody is basically, the living circumstances, even for people in Europe, let's say, is like subpar. We are awesome because we have... that was the tenor of that quote. And it was really silly.
That is quite funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's really like, Joe, it's like really, like saying like, you guys in Europe, probably don't even have running water. Now, for you, Joe, that is true.
Yeah, what is this running water? Where does it run to? Where is it running from? All these questions. What is this talking about?
Okay, I'll shut up. I'll let you guys take over. What do you think about this situation? Is this overreaction that VR developers are now publicly saying they're pulling out the developing for Oculus because he's supporting right-wing Donald Trump? Or should we separate the art from the artist like Tom Cruise? I still watch Tom Cruise movies, although I think the dude is a douche.
I love Leni Riefenstahl, but that's a completely different matter.
Oh.
But, I also had my run-ins with Luckey on Facebook, and he unfriended me. Apparently, I was a little bit too much... had a woman with an opinion or something. I don't know.
You didn't donate enough for Nimble America.
But my problem with the situation is that, excuse me, you should not judge him for for having a political opinion that you disagree with. I mean, you can judge him for it, but pretty much 99% of the world, 99.9% of the world has political opinions I don't agree with. So be it. The problem I do have with it is that he's supporting what I call trolling, griefing. I mean, no matter they give it all these names, but it is what it is. It's trolling and griefing. Mm-hmm. And in this time, this is such a huge problem for so many people.
Right.
And if you are in the computer business, if you are pushing this new medium, if you're so involved with virtual reality, and you are part of its biggest problem,
right,
then you deserve everything you get, regardless of your political opinion, regardless of what you've done. But supporting this, you could be the best, loveliest, cutest person in the world, and I agree with 100% of every single opinion you have. But if you do this, you're out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuse for it.
Very
That's
well
why I hate people using different words for it. Because if you say he's supporting trolling, then suddenly the whole story changes from, he's supporting people who make memes or whatever they call it.
Memes.
Memes.
This is very well put, Joe. Let me add one more thing. I want to go to Rob because also, of course, needless to say, that in a powerful position that he is in, financially and influence-wise, supporting trolling and griefing and all this kind of stuff, bullying, essentially digital bullying, is in fact super problematic. But anyway, Rob, what do you think about this whole Palmer lucky, he is lucky. Not so lucky.
Yeah, he's very lucky. I think he needs to understand how lucky he is. I agree with Joe that when the story broke, I went out on Twitter and said, I'm going to stop reporting on Oculus until Oculus responds to the situation. And so, Jason Ruman, head of studio, and CEO, they did their distancing from this and said that they're not going to be condoning spreading hate and this and that. So I said, okay, that's fine. That's all I needed from them. But yeah, it's the supporting, paying money to take these angry memes and put them on billboards, which is what the $10,000 he donated to Nimble America, was intended for.
Right. Thanks for pointing that out. That's actually quite important. Yeah.
And again, just with Joe, all this mean-spirited stuff, it doesn't spread information. You're not getting your point across. It's time-consuming. It's bullying. It hurts people's feelings. And I got a big backsplash from the haters, what came in on my Twitter, that people that I'd never found me by keyword search. I'm sure the Donald people or whatever. So I had to ban like 12 people from my Twitter. It's no big deal. That's some people live for this garbage.
Yeah, and they are proving the point.
And also, it's what needs to be pointed out, and we'll link to all sorts of different things. I'm just looking if there's still stuff going on Twitter.
There's always stuff going on Twitter.
No, with Palmer Luckey. Oh, Luckey just tweeted, Palmer Luckey's jeopardizing the future of Facebook and Oculus Rift. Oh, that was a Business Insider article.
That'd be a good thing, though, wouldn't it?
But I also wanted to point out, some people have said, we all said stupid stuff when we were young, and that is certainly true. But he's a public figure with enormous influence. And what you said, Rob, we also, obviously, it doesn't need to be pointed out that virtual reality, we're almost in sort of a dystopian scenario that you could imagine or has been imagined in any number of sci-fi novels, that basically the biggest dude in sort of virtual reality or alternate reality in entertainment is then at the same time sort of pulling this wool over the sheep's eyes, and all of a sudden we can imagine that these dystopian scenarios can become very, very real, right?
Been going on since the day of dawn of man. It's not new. It's just a new medium, but the idea of powerful people going a bit loopy, it's old.
No, but that he has access to potentially the biggest influencing platform, virtual reality, dominating that field where people are influenced in a way that science doesn't even completely understand how deep that influence is. This is a medium that is for good or for bad can create empathy. Noni de la Peña is famous for all her work with virtual Guantanamo starting in Second Life and then the Syria Project and all sorts of things. But it can also be used for propaganda. And that is really scary to me.
Like television, like radio, like the media, printed media.
Yes, but multiplied in its power.
Probably.
Listen, you're on a podcast that tries to tell people how amazing immersion is, even with the screen between you. Oh, you can go into the 20s.
Sure. But I've seen films that will haunt me for the rest of my life, and
True.
Don't underestimate the old media, said Granny.
Oh, I agree. I read books. Wait a minute. Hey, we were
You
off.
read books?
Hey, thanks for giving me that. Oh my God, Joe, you're worth gold. You're worth every Linden dollar. You gave
Yes,
me that
maybe.
again, mention to folks who haven't listened to me for the last 3 months that I do read paper books.
Yeah,
All right.
and I don't have a mobile phone or a television.
Right.
We done?
No, people completely forgot about these two very important facts that you don't have a mobile phone and I read paper books. But Rob, sorry, you wanted to chime in about Palma?
Yeah, I think it's something we have to keep an eye on. Is that obviously Palmer Luckey looked like a cute crazy kid, and he's got this mean streak.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure that mean streak doesn't go through the Oculus culture and spread out into virtual reality, because it's so easy to do this in virtual reality. He had to donate $10,000 to get this garbage up on a real life billboard. And you know how easy it is to spread hate through virtual reality. We've all experienced it in Second Life.
That's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean.
The cost of entry is zero.
Right.
You just show up and you're a jerk. And a lot of the new virtual worlds have already started to figure this out, that they have to put protection in place. And you also have to figure out the Facebook connection. Yeah. Facebook is still real big on this real names thing.
Exactly.
When you've got people who need to change their names, whether it's because of domestic abuse or a list of reasons why someone shouldn't have to use their real name.
Exactly, very legitimate reasons.
And then they're attached to Oculus, and Oculus is sort of the one of the leader brands for the whole virtual reality movement.
That is just yet another thing that we in Second Life have had 13 years of experience with, and everyone else is just new to the game. Yeah. We've all walked into sims in Second Life that make us want to throw up.
I thought you'd never leave your sim, Joe, but
not anymore.
But this is an important point, and again, let's just to wrap this up. I mean, I obviously agree with you guys that business leaders or leaders of any stripe who are not professional politicians may hold political viewpoints that I don't hold, and that's fine. That's the world we live in, and that's completely legit. That's what democracy is about. But that type of influence combined with that really very childish mean streak. And also, this is also very close to the whole Gamergate culture as well, which is it's like a weird misogynist culture, pro-men. I mean, there's this whole group of these, I always forget what they're called, like men's rights movement or whatnot.
Yep, men's rights advocates.
Right, thank you. I mean, that's insane, right? Those are people who never grew up beyond middle school when a girl dumped them. Or said, no, you can't go to the party with me, and now women have ruined their lives. And
it's probably all those men I punched into the hospital.
Joe is single-handedly responsible for the men's rights movement.
Yes, sorry.
Oh shit, we're doomed.
Little men with mommy issues out there.
Yeah.
But I guess we agree that this is this setting. A lot of people have, not a lot, but people who were very passionate about this have said this will set back the adoption of VR. I am not so sure.
I don't think so. No, the wheels have started turning, and it's going downhill. This cart, and it's very heavy. There's no stopping it.
It was going to happen sooner or later. And I think if anything, it's almost a good thing that it kind of spotlights the fact that this is going to be part of something we're going to have to be vigilant about. You can't just eliminate it, but all the worlds are going to have to understand that this is going to happen, and if you don't put the protection in place, it's going to turn people off, because there's no reason to go into a virtual world filled with the hate, when you can just turn it off and then put it aside, and that's the end of it. And all these places will dry up if they don't put protection in place.
If there's anything that's going to keep this back or is going to slow it down a little, it's going to be the first person who dies in VR, because they have a heart attack because of one of those horror games or something like that. But even things like that, something really extreme, or, like we've had with Second Life, one day someone is going to build a pedophile sort of sex game for VR, and that's going to hit the media, and that's going to damage it. But even those things will not stop it, and those are a lot worse than some little tubby guy from America saying something stupid.
Right, and then Palmer Luckey goes like, whew, good that we planted that pedo story to get the media off of me. Now I can go back to Reddit.
If Palmer Luckey was as powerful as people think he is, something to distract everyone would have happened a long time ago.
That's a good point.
Palmer Luckey got into a very lucky situation. He didn't invent virtual reality. It's one headset out of,
Yes.
there's a half a dozen of them out there now. It's fine that he's been outed in the situation. He's a distraction at this point. I don't think it's going to slow anything down at all.
No.
So this is the end of the show, and I know Joe is like she wants to tell us about before we get off the air about the time portal sim.
Yay.
Joe, you got a 12-second pitch. What is the time portal?
Great.
I heard the time. No. The time portal sim is a sponsor of the Drax Files Radio. All right.
Yes, we are forever and ever for over 3,000 years.
What is the time portal sim? You bought a sim, and what is on that sim?
Well, it's a completely new project. It's all about time travel, and you arrive in a sort of laboratorium. You arrive in a time machine, and you can choose between 6 historical zones. And there's shops there, and there's a cinema and bars and all sorts of things. And you can, walk around the streets, and you can go to medieval times and Roman times in the 1950s and 60s for you, Drax, and in the 1930s and 40s. And, we've opened the first time zone, which is the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and working on the 50s and 60s one that's going to open really soon. So it's really exciting, and lots of people are very interested in it, and it's going to be fantastic.
That is pretty awesome. Do you plan to have a cool 70s sim where everything is orange and plastic?
No. Any decade in the history of man is welcome, except the 70s, because I bloody remember it.
All the alcohol in the world, they just managed to make you forget.
All the eye bleach in the world cannot make me forget how horrific everything looked back then.
These these plastic showers that were just like one-piece bathrooms made of white plastic. That efficiency.
Avocado and goldenrod.
So, Rob, what did
I remember
you say?
it well too.
Say again.
I said avocado and goldenrod. I remember it all well too. Yeah.
Okay, so at the end of the show, we'll link to the time portal sim, of course. At the end of the show, we ask our guests what are they doing over the weekend, anything exciting, what are they up to, what's coming up. Rob, what are you up to this weekend?
We're finishing up work on our annual Halloween game. This year it's called Nowhere. It's going to be opening up on October 20th in Second Life, obviously.
In Second Life?
Very active in Second Life. So definitely check that out. You can look us up on Facebook, Pulse Games and SL.
Awesome. And my last word is that there's a new Drax Files coming out this coming Wednesday, and it is in 360 degrees video. And what we did, guys, by we, I mean Electric Shepherd and Ardwin Schwartzman, and more detail to follow, have managed to find a way to film 360 in Second Life. And I know Strawberry Singh just blogged about Iliastra's photo HUD, which is cool, so you can make 360 photos in SL as well. And I think this is very cool because you can now show people the space. I mean, we live in a space. We live in a spatial world, in the virtual world.
Linden Lab should jump on this. I mean, this is can you imagine Destination Guide?
Maybe Linden Lab should put this in this capability in the viewer. That's what I would say.
They really should.
Or can you imagine Marketplace? Here you go. This is what you want to buy. Here it is in 3D, rotated.
I don't think that folks can just easily do this video. We're going to be very transparent about the process, but it's so labor intensive that I think most folks may give up. But I hope that Linden Lab watches this stuff and also sees Iliastra's 360 HUD and maybe says to themselves or to their engineers, hey, let's implement this stuff in the viewer and make this available to everyone to shoot 360 machinima. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the end of the show. We're so lucky that we can now go out in our respective places that are not looking like California. And if we want to live in an awesome place like Anaheim, we can just pop on. we can just go to the beach in Second Life, where everything looks
I-
like Malibu.
I hate the beach.
I'll run around on Mars.
Do they have a mall there? And do they have a Lexus dealership up there?
I'm
No,
going
they
to
don't.
I'm going to a
Nobody's homeschooled
1950s
either.
dinner.
Nobody's homeschooled on Mars. They have public schools. They have a very functioning
right.
public school system. God damn these Martians. They're not libertarians. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much for being on the show, Rob. And goodbye, Joe.
Thank you, Drax.
Auf Wiedersehen.
We're going out today with a cool tune from J9 Scarborough. Really awesome CD. This is a song called Story to Tell by J9. Thank you guys for listening. See you next week. Bye.
Child of the fields, took care of the herd. She whistled on her flute and was free like a bird. She grew up in a war, but that was far away, until it came closer, much too close one day, when a soldier took the 10-year-old kid. She did not understand why he did what he did, and helplessly in a black hole she fell, and she became the girl with no story to tell. The wind blew over the empty field, where a young girl got wounded, and the wound never healed. The young girl got married, she tried to forget, in a house that was meant to be shelter from the dread. She gave birth to a child and took care of the home, escaping the beast that made her feel all alone. She sang for her daughter a sweet lullaby. The child heard a moan, and it couldn't tell why. The wind blew over the empty field, where a young girl got wounded, and the wound never healed. She told her daughter about the fields and the herd, and how strong she had been, feeling free like a bird. But her daughter took it strange, since her only desire was to run far away from her mother's fire. She said, "Mama, Mama, I need to go away." And Mother said, "Go, I won't make you stay." Child of the fields was now living alone. Her husband had died, and her daughter was gone. She had hoped that the wind would stop blowing one day, but her fears never ended as her words faded away.
The Drax Files Radio Hour with Joe Yardley is a weekly production of Basic Drax Entertainment. The show is supported by Time Portal, SL Artist, Warbug, 01 Heavy Industries Corporation, Extraordinary Fine Magical Goods, Ionic, Maven Homes, Gizzo Creations, Strawberry Sing, Abranimations, Eros Avatars, The Cube Republic, What Next, Landscapes Unlimited, Bay Cities You Know for Kids, Fallen Gods Incorporated, Feroce SL, and Death Row Designs. Contact the show via Skype, DraxFiles, Avatar, DraxFiles, or email radio@draxfiles.com.